Hello, everyone. It's Jerry at the Fledge, and welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. Today, I'm down in the sanctuary, but outside right now, there's about 20 vendors set up. We've got a stage out there. We've got a DJ, live music, different talks happening throughout the day. It's the Fledge Freedom Fest weekend, so get down here today until 11, or tomorrow 11 to 11, or I think on Monday it's noon to 6. So a lot of good things happening out here, and come check it out. So also want to give a shout out to thisent.com and Joe Walker for starting to write some summaries about some of the shows, and 517living.com. Check it out for everything happening in Lansing and also the week of the shows. So let's get to my guest today. Today it is my new friend, Sidney Black. How you doing, Sidney?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I heard you been busy today.
Yes, I have. I had a whole bunch of cake orders to do today. I had to make sure everything was settled. I had to make sure the kids was good and make it here on time.
Yeah, I appreciate it too, or so much too. And it's nice to meet you. It's the first time we met like 5 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago.
Yes, it was.
So I can't wait to chop it up on the show real quick.
Yes,
so if you don't mind, would you tell us about you, like where you were born and raised and went to school?
Well, my name is Sidney Black II. I'm named after my father. I was born and raised in Lansing, Michigan. Went to school in Lansing, went to Everett, ended up gaining my GED from West Junior. After I gained my GED, I pretty much said, I'm going to take a year off of schooling. I wanted to go to college. I had ambition to go to college. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take a year off. I'll go next year. And within that year's time that I had off with nothing to do, I ended up catching a case and ended up receiving 14 to 40 years in prison. During those 14 years in prison, that incarceration, a lot of things occurred, a lot of good things, a lot of bad things, ups and downs, a lot of eye-revealing things, that led me to change my life and look at things differently, look at my actions from the past, as well as wanting to plan something better for the future and have something sustainable for when I got home. So eventually when I was able to come home, I was able to be cemented and go on to start businesses and organizations to try to prevent people from doing what I did to get incarcerated, but also to provide and make sure that I'm not going back and doing what I used to do for survival.
Yeah. It's kind of like a recursive thing. If you can help somebody, you're going to help yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have a trauma that I go through that I do that same thing with this place and that trauma. Mm-hmm. I think that's super effective to do it that way too. Mm-hmm. Do you want to get into some of the projects that you're working on now?
Yes, we can. Yeah, we can start there.
Or did you want to talk about being inside?
I would rather talk about the process to get to the end and the present first, so people will actually understand, the story of everything and how everything links up.
All right, you take the lead, man.
Okay. Well, when I was 19 years old, I committed a crime. It was an armed robbery on a person. At that point in time, like most 19-year-olds, you're lost. You don't really know who you are. You are who you surround yourself around, your environment, things of that nature, unless you have a strong foundation and someone pouring into you, letting you know, like, you have to figure out who you are. And most of us as kids don't at a teenage age. So at 19 years old, I was in the process of searching and looking for myself. I just lost my father probably 4 years ago. So it was my mother and my stepfather raising me. And, me and my stepfather had issues because I was, my father's son and my father was gone. So that had a lot of tension in the household, which in turn created a lot of tension inside of me. So from bouncing from place to place and house to house and committing crimes and everything, I ended up getting incarcerated at the age of 19. Telling the 19-year-old that, hold on, let me backtrack one more time.
Yeah.
When I got incarcerated, I also got incarcerated when my son was 2 months old.
Oh man.
Yeah, so I had just had my son, Sidney Black III. So when my son was born, in my head, I'm like, I have to do something else in order to be here for my child. But I didn't know what that something else was. I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to do it. And there was no one there to teach me how to do that. So I ended up doing what other people were doing, what I was used to doing, and trying to figure it out. And in that process, I ended up hurting my child's life and hurting my life as well by getting 14 years in prison.
Yeah.
To hear that you have 14 to 40 years in prison at 19 years old and sitting back and thinking like, dang, I have a child, and when I get home, he's going to be 14 years old, it was devastating to me. I didn't know how to handle it. All I did was cry. I cried for days. I cried on the phone to my mother. I cried to the mother of my child. I cried to everybody that would listen to me cry. And it still didn't help. Because once you put yourself in that position, there's nothing you can do. You can't get out of that position. And that's one of the main things I try to drill and instill in the kids today. You know, some listen, some don't. Some had to learn the hard way like I had to. But I was one of the lucky and fortunate ones to make it through that in order to be who I am today. You know, during my incarceration, it was a lot of coasting, should I say. You know, my first 7 years in the penitentiary, I didn't even understand the magnitude and the weight of what I did. You know, what my actions did, not only to my own family, but what my actions did to the family of the victims and the people that I did them to. You know, so with me not knowing that, it didn't really affect me to be incarcerated for those 7 years. So I understand how some people can come home and be like, oh, that was nothing. You know, I don't want to change. I just wake up, go to sleep, eat when they tell me to eat, and then I just come home. You know, that's how a lot of people go through the system. You know, they don't try to learn. They don't try to look back and figure out how they got here, how these things happen, and they just come home the same person. At a 7 year point in my incarceration, I remember that I did something. I don't know if it was a fight or an investigation on me or something when I was in there, but I ended up going to solitary confinement. And my mother tried to bring my son to come see me. And they told my mother and my son that I'm not allowed to visit them because I'm in solitary confinement. That day forward, I told myself I would never put myself in a position that my son is not able to see me ever again. So that was the start of the transition and the change in me. Of course, I had a couple hiccups going along the way and doing the 14 years, but I started taking classes. I started listening to people. I started doing self-evaluations and everything. And I actually entered a class called Chance for Life, CFL. And what they did was they pretty much put a mirror in front of me, and all the classes that I took that the Michigan Department of Corrections offered, none of them ever stuck and never worked for me. The Chance for Life was their own nonprofit organization that came in and taught prisoners how to teach other prisoners these skills. So they were teaching like self-awareness, self-esteem, parenting skills, how to be the 6 pillars of character, integrity, empathy. You know, all of those things that you need to understand other people and other people's situations as well as your own. So once I was able to gain that and go through the class, it came to me like, you know, you're doing good. You know, we want you to teach the class. And I'm like, man, I'm not no teacher. I can't teach no class. Like, what do you mean teach the class? Teach who? Well, why are they going to listen to me? So I ended up, you know, they taught me into it. So I ended up doing it. And just to actually see that you can change somebody's life by talking to them and sharing your own experience is so powerful, you know, because these are also criminals right along with me at that point in time. You know, these were murderers, drug dealers, you know, every label that somebody wants to call you and say that you are. You know, that's what I was sitting there and I'm talking to and I'm teaching, and they're actually coming to me and telling me thank you and that it's working. So that's how I knew that what I was learning and what I was teaching was actually valuable. So I held on to it. When it came time for me to come home after the 14 years, I was, of course, nervous, but I was extremely happy because I had a family. I was now married at this point. I got married while I was incarcerated to the mother of my child. Um, I had kids to come home to. I had everything that somebody could want, a stable foundation, everything that somebody could want that's coming home. So, once I got here, it was stress, but not too much stress. I got home and everything was okay. And then life started hitting. Bills are piling up. I never paid a bill in my life before I got out of penitentiary. And I came out of prison, I was 33 years old. I've never in my life paid a bill. Like I said, I got knocked up when I was 19. So having the responsibility of being married, the responsibility of now having to raise kids, because my son was 2 months old. So now I have to raise kids now because I have, 3 stepkids and now my son. So that on top of having a job, I never had a real job. I don't want to sell drugs. I don't want to go rob and do things that I used to do. I don't want to do any of those things. So I have to now get this $9 an hour job to live out here when I'm used to being in the penitentiary earning, let's say, $15 a month, going to the store and getting store goods and managing store goods, which is also one of the things that helped me be strict and money manage. Because when you only have 2 weeks amount of food to eat into the next 2 weeks till you get stored, you learn how to manage things. You learn how to manage money. You learn how to manage food. So I had the manage part down, but I didn't have the complete application of it down. So what ended up happening was I ended up getting depressed, and I ended up finding other outlets and things to get my mind off of what was actually going on in real life. And it hurt my family base. It hurt everything that I said that I wanted and that I thought I wanted. It was other mitigated circumstances that, ended up so to the point where I had to go find myself. But at the end of the day, it was me not knowing what I wanted, how to get it, how to obtain it, and how to keep it. So I went through a lot of ups and downs, a lot of jobs, a lot of this, a lot of that. Some successes, some failures. The very first thing that really latched on to me was helping in the community. I always wanted to do that. I always had a plan that when I was locked up, I said, you know what, I want to start the Black Foundation. And it's going to stand for Bold Leaders Acquire Commanding Knowledge. Because I believe that to be a leader, you have to have commanding knowledge. Like you have to have a commanding presence. You have to have knowledge of the situation, whatever the situation may be. You have to be able to adapt to it to be a leader. And I believe in breathing life into kids, into adults, into older people, whatever it may be, to gain whatever it is that they need to gain, whatever knowledge they need to gain to be successful in life. And that's pretty much what the Black Foundation does, as well as give back to feed the homeless, give back. We gave away probably over 1,000, definitely over 1,000, maybe 1,500, somewhere around there, backpacks to the community. We've also given away about 900 hamburgers and hot dogs. These are all coming from donations from the people that know us and the different businesses that know us and just want to be a part of helping push us forward and push the community forward. So we've been blessed, in that sense. Yes, sir.
So if somebody wants to donate, how do they do that? Is there a website or?
Yes, we don't have an official foundation website.
Okay.
But they can call me at any time, 517-348-4932. I have my social media outlets.
You really want me to put that there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And we have my social media outlet, which is Sidney Black. And then my Instagram is bullies_desserts_family. And I pretty much, along with my, go ahead.
I got a couple of questions before
Yes,
I
sir.
post this.
Yes, sir.
To support the Black Foundation, is that what it is, or
Yes, Black
or
Foundation.
Black Foundation?
Yes, sir.
So the is not in the name, like
No, it's
Facebook.
not.
All right, got it.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right.
And my Facebook name is just my real name, Sidney Black. And I tried to do the different social media sites where I got, my dessert business has this site and my nonprofit has this site and all of that stuff. But it seemed that my own personal page gets the most traction and the most attention. So I pretty much promote everything and receive everything from there.
Do you tell the story on your Facebook or Instagram or anything like that?
Yes, I have. I used to do sit down and do interviews like this in person. Like I used to interview felons and ex incarcerated individuals that come home. I used to sit down and interview them and talk about their struggle and what they plan on doing in life. And I've also sat down. This is only my second time in the last 7 years that I've been home that I've actually been interviewed.
I think you're amazing. I
Thank you.
love the way you tell the story, and thank you for taking me back there because I wasn't sure where you wanted to go, and I wanted to make sure you led this. I want to put a comment up.
Okay.
Tink 42902 said, "We are so proud of you." Do you know who that is?
Yes, I believe that's my wife. I'm not sure. I'm seeing a picture of my son and my daughter on there as a profile, so I'm gonna say that's my wife.
Did she just throw her YouTube account together just now?
She probably did.
So I have do you mind if I ask you a couple questions before we go to your next projects?
Go right ahead. I'm an open book.
Are you as part of the Black Foundation, are you still teaching? Because that sounded like what people are calling emotional intelligence right now, and teaching the empathy and the different things you were talking about with the program. I forgot. Chance for Life.
Yes.
Are you still teaching that?
No, I am not. I currently am not. I teach it on a non-official basis. When I talk, it naturally comes out. But we want to start classes and teaching kids and individuals, but like I have a plan, but I don't have the door to go through to make it happen. I have no clue who to talk to, how to make it happen, or anything like that. Well,
talk to me, man.
There we go.
Because I'm ready.
Okay, well there we are. Because I've been trying to make it happen since I came home.
Okay.
And I've talked to a few people about it, and everybody says okay, and as far as the Chance for Life, that's their curriculum. But I actually have my own curriculum wrote up where just my own thoughts and just personal experiences that, we wrote up, me and my co-defendant, Michael Taylor, we've been trying to put our heads together to come up with something.
I got you, man.
Yes, sir. That's what I love to hear.
We'll find lots of other people who will jump in too.
Okay.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Let's go to one of your other projects. You got two more. Let's go to Bullies because, Bullies, desserts, and family doesn't go together well unless people know what we're talking about.
Right. Well, the Bullies comes from my love of animals and especially my love for dogs. When I was incarcerated, I told my co-defendant, Michael Taylor, one day, we were sitting out there on a bench, and I was just like, man, I just can't wait to just go home and be able to just walk my dog around the neighborhood at night and just live life and just walk my dog. I just want to walk my dog. And not knowing that me having that love and saying that would turn into me actually having a licensed legal dog business, a kennel, called Bully Foundation Kennels, LLC. And we have turned into, now we are starting to breed dogs, and, we only sell to families that we know are going to take care of our dogs and, treat them right. And, we don't just sell to anybody. That's important to us. It's a passion, it's a love that we have. It's me and my wife's business, and we really, and I'm sorry, because we just brought on the kennel partner as well, Jose Perez. I cannot forget my brother. So, the three of us, we are here to try to make the best, breed of the American bully that we can, and give it to good homes and good people.
I understand very much what you're saying. I used to raise pit bulls in the 80s when I was in Ann Arbor, and there's a lot of guys from Ipsy would come over, and they'd have their dogs, and they'd have scars on their face, and their ears are chopped, and man, it was hard to not sell pit bulls to fighters in the 80s, and it was super hard.
Right. I've been there and been around there as well when I was younger and a teenager and everything. So, yeah.
That because they'd trick you too, because they'd send a kid and a mom to buy one of the dogs, and then they'd end up in some not good place, man. But I know why. I know you must love this.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, I love it with a passion. Like my dogs are pretty much. They're also like my kids as well. I talk to them like my kids. I feed them like my kids. I tell my kids don't mess with them like they're my kids. Tell the dog don't mess with my kids because they're my kids. That type of stuff. Right.
Do you find like taking care of them and engaging with them like kind of therapeutic as your? I mean, how long have you been out?
I've been out 7 years now.
7. You said that. I'm sorry. You said this is your second interview in 7 years.
Yes.
Is there still trauma related to that? And if I'm going in a spot you don't want to go?
Oh no, you're fine.
Yeah.
It most definitely is trauma related to that. Like I have to, how should I say this? I have to learn to communicate sometimes better, because being in that environment is such a harsh and hard environment. The penitentiary is, and you have to always be on point. You have to always, if you want to get a point across, you have to get it across either angrily, authoritatively, or something of that nature. And it takes a lot of work to keep it here and not go over.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because in a penitentiary, if someone violates you or you feel disrespected or things of that nature, that's just in the penitentiary, or even before you get there, living in the streets and everything, you tend to react a certain way. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of residual effects that comes from there. Another one is when I first came home, I was broke a few times and I didn't know what to do. So I actually did start selling drugs again. I started selling drugs and I was doing it for a minute, and I didn't get caught selling drugs, but I got like somewhat caught. Like my parole officer was like, man, look, you doing something. I don't know what you're doing. I'm finna send you to jail. They sent me to jail for a week. And I was probably home, I want to say, not even a year yet, they sent me to jail. And I'm sitting there and I found myself and I'm back locked up. I'm back behind a locked door and I can't do what I was just doing 8-9 months ago. So now it's like, dang, like you just put yourself in a position to be right back where you said you never wanted to be again. So when I got out from doing those 7 days, I told myself, you know what? I'm not doing anything. I'm straight. Straight lace. I don't want to sell a drug. I don't want to do anything illegal, because I just went through this 14 years. I just did 7 days, and them 7 days felt like 14 years. I'm straight. I'm done. But that's the residual mindset that comes from that. And what people don't understand is, if you have someone that comes home from prison and they have no knowledge of how to do what they want to do, because everybody on this earth has something that they want to do in life that they can do to provide for themselves and their family that is legal. The problem is you don't have the tools and the knowledge to do the legal things. So you go back to doing your illegal things to survive. But if we begin to teach these people and teach individuals how to do these things, then the sky is the limit.
Man, I got to pause you for a second. Number one, I got 10 ideas I want to work on with you. First of all, just listening that we can get to in a little bit. But you made me have an epiphany about something. And I want to see if it's, so now I have like this thought in my head that I work with a lot of entrepreneurs who have been in, and they come out, and one thing they're very good at is de-escalating situations. And I started thinking, as you were talking about that balance you have to have, where sometimes you have to be assertive, but you don't want to cross that line where it just escalates, because everything's tense, right? It could explode at any second.
Absolutely.
So you guys get really good at de-escalating and knowing that balance. And
absolutely.
That it was really, it's not a process of de-escalation, it's a process of knowing how to balance that assertion versus that empathy versus that understanding where this guy's coming from and where he's at. Maybe he's just, having a bad day. So
absolutely. It brings you, and it takes a skill. I'm not gonna lie, it definitely is a special skill to be able to sit back in the moment and be like, you know what, I'm tripping. Let me calm down. If I don't calm down, the goal is not gonna get accomplished. These cakes aren't gonna get baked. This conversation is not gonna go anywhere. I need to just.
Well, you just led into one of the things I was going to ask you next.
Okay.
Does that help you with your entrepreneurialism?
Absolutely. It definitely does, because you have to deal with and talk to so many different people, whether they want to deal and talk with you or not. Some people that it's a lot of people that, support me, but it's some people that, they don't really want to deal with me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's just the nature of it.
Have you ever heard of the F5 project that's out of North Dakota?
No, I haven't.
They talk about, they do a couple of things. They help people that are coming out, like, get on their feet. So they give them they get them housing, they get them the IDs, they get them income, all of these things. But they talk about what we as a community need to start learning. So when you get out, right, people don't know how to act around you, do they? I mean, it's like,
no, they don't.
Right.
And they think that you're the weird one.
And so what are some things we could do that would be better, like, or not do? Are we standing around hovering, hey, do you need anything? And then what are we doing?
I think the best thing that someone can do with and to someone that is coming home from the penitentiary is sit down, ask them, what do they want to do? And they pretty much, anybody that's coming home would tell you exactly what they want to do, and then figure out where you fit at in that plan if you're really trying to help, because some people try to fit where they can't fit at. So if I come home and somebody asks me, like, how can I help you? And I'm like, well, I need a job, and I need money. That's the main thing I need. But you yourself don't have a job, and you yourself is struggling. You can't sit back and tell me, like, oh, well, I'm gonna help you get a job. And you sit back like, hold on, wait a minute. So my biggest advice would be to help in the ways that you can help, whatever that may be. If you don't know how to get that person that job or that money, if that's the case, then tell somebody, I may know someone that knows someone. And try to make the connection, because when people come out of penitentiary, that's what we really need. We need connection, whether it's connection to get an ID, connection to obtain employment, housing, whatever it is. It's all about connection, because come out of penitentiary, we have no connections. The world changes and flips so much. If you're gone 5 years, you come back home, that building that you used to go into, that building may be gone. That the people that you used to talk to, they may be gone. So everything will pretty much have to start from scratch. And that's how you pretty much want to start, though, coming out of penitentiary. You want to start from scratch, because whatever you did and the mindset you had when you went in, if you didn't change it, all those things are still there. So until you start from scratch, those things are still going to be there.
You just predicted another question that I'm going to ask you in a few minutes.
Okay.
It's I feel like we're on this wave today. We're flowing right now, because my mind is racing with what you're talking about.
Nice.
When you oh wait, bullies, we gotta.
Okay.
We'll get to that in 1 second. 1 second.
Okay.
I always say that connection is the opposite of every problem. So whether it's addiction, whether it's homelessness, whether it's depression, all of these things, when you have that connection,
Yep.
Things can get solved a lot better. We can take care of
Absolutely.
each other better. And I think that's why those skills that you are teaching
Hmm.
would be so amazing to just keep spreading through the community and get more and more people uh, uh, up to speed, I guess, on that, or whatever we want to say, or
Hmm.
whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Um, the bullies thing, though, let's get to that.
Okay.
What? How can, if somebody wanted to reach out or see your dogs, like, do you have an Instagram
Hmm.
or something like that?
Yes. Yep. The Instagram is bullies underscore dessert underscore family.
Oh, the
That's
same.
the Yep, the same. That's the Instagram. And
Okay.
they can see my dogs on there. They can hit me up on there if they're interested in getting a dog. The Facebook, I have my dogs and my family and everything all over Facebook and Instagram.
All right. I'm going to
Yep.
share both your pages
Okay.
later too. Um, so let's throw another quick comment up there. So Heather
Mhm.
Griffith, I think, yeah. Thank you for all that you do for the community and being the best role model for our youth, especially my own boys.
Nice.
So,
Yeah, that's my sister-in-law right there.
okay.
Yep.
And then
You're
one
welcome, man.
other,
I love her.
uh, is this your mom?
That's my mother.
Oh,
Yes.
hey, mom.
Hey, mom. Yep. My
um,
mom. She's the biggest, not a big. She's the biggest part of who I am today. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have made it out the penitentiary. I wouldn't have. She's never missed a visit. She's always supported me. She's always poured. Look, see, you finna get a tear off. You talk about my mama. She.
I'll
You
be
know,
following you though.
and the tear comes from just my love that I have for my mother. She always see, every time it's the mom, and it's always the mom. But she made sure that I didn't want for anything while I
Yeah.
was in there, and that's important, because I didn't have to do ulterior things to obtain what I needed in there. No matter what it was, my mother has never told me no. She would say that I can't do that right now, but she's never told me no.
Would you say that she was your advocate too? Did she ever have to reach into the prison system and fight for you
Um,
or anything like that?
I don't want to say reach into the prison system to fight for me because I didn't do too many things for her to fight for.
Oh, okay. All right.
But she prayed every single day, every single night, and she instilled that in me. And just those pray, just me knowing that my mother is at home praying for me, I knew everything was gonna be okay.
And she put another comment in there fast before I saw it, but she did that. So sounds
Thank you,
like a
mom.
lot of people are proud of you.
Yeah.
And I'm super proud to have you on the show, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Well, let's talk the desserts part.
Okay. Well, the desserts part is actually a organic story that I've never seen coming from anywhere. Um, I made fudge bars in the penitentiary and different things, and they call me the fudge man. Like, yo, make some fudge. Let's make some fudge. I'll make some fudge, sell a couple fudge bars, eat some fudge, watch some TV or whatever. Never thought nothing of it. Um, I get home and I'm working at a factory called Yazaki. And we're working there. I've probably worked just the longest I ever had a job. I was there for a year and a half, longest I've ever worked. Everything's flowing. We're having a good time. Everybody's at work enjoying work. And then, excuse me, boom, a layoff comes. And then during the layoff, they're telling certain people, like, we won't need you back. So when my turn came, they said, we won't need you back. So now I'm sitting there and I'm now without a job. I don't know what to do. The last time I was in that position without having a job, I ended up selling drugs again and ended up doing a week in jail. So I'm sitting there like, what am I going to do? And my girlfriend at the time, her mom worked at a bakery. and her mom Sheila B. We call her Sheila B. Sheila Burtley, and she talked to her mom, and her, asked her mom, can you get him a job? So her mom, of course, said, yeah. I went there and I started working, and Sheila, she was like, you're gonna start on the dishes, they had me doing dishes and all that stuff. Then eventually they had me doing cookies and cutting cookies out and baking cookies and rolls and everything. And then eventually she like, all right, you can try the cakes now, and I'll try the frosted cake. She right-handed, I'm left-handed, so I'm not getting it. I'm getting frustrated. She getting frustrated, but she still kept teaching me.
Is she be baking?
That is she
Right?
be baking.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
How come you and I
Absolutely.
haven't met before? I see her all the time. I love her.
I don't know. Yeah,
Dang.
Sheila's one of the best, man. She taught me. I owe a lot of the dessert stuff and the things, the fundamentals that I know to Sheila B.
Yeah.
I do.
I like her. She's a badass.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, but eventually, oh, I'm sorry, I got it mixed up. I got a couple things backwards.
Okay.
I had a job first, and then I lost my job, and then Sheila B gave me the job there. Then somebody told me about the Yazaki job. So then I left the bakery to go earn more money at the Yazaki job.
Mm.
So then the Yazaki job ended, went on layoff, and ended with me. So then I'm sitting there, and my wife right now today said, "Look, why don't you do something with your desserts?" Cause I was kicking it around like, man, I could sell desserts and blase blase, and but I ain't had no money. So my wife was like, "Well, I will pay for all your ingredients. I will pay for your material. You take this money, and you go and you see what we can make of it." At first, I was like, nah, because I hate taking money from people. I'm a man. I like making my own money. I like doing that. I didn't want to do it at first. And then, but she told me, she was like, you never have to worry about ever asking me for anything. Like, you don't have to worry about that. Like, if you need it, I'm here for you. I got you. And I didn't know how to receive that support from somebody that was my significant other. I didn't know how to handle that. I've never had that in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've had it, but not to the degree where it's like, I'm gonna let you know that I ain't got no money and I need some money. That's that pride thing. But I put my pride to the side and I received what she was trying to give me, not knowing that it was going to turn into what it turned into. So I ended up doing jarred layered desserts, and I posted them and they sold out quick. And I'm like, okay, so now I made some. So now I got $50 in my pocket now. I'm like, okay, so I'll go get some more desserts. Now I got $50 more in my pocket. I'm like, okay, so now it's picking up. So from that point forward, I ended up, now I'm like, okay, now I can do the layered desserts. And then my wife now, she was my girlfriend. And she's like, well, why don't you try this? I'm like, I don't frost cakes. I can't frost cakes. I'm horrible at it. Blase, blase. So I ended up frosting the cake. And the cake looked so horrible today when I look back at it, but I was so proud of that horrible looking cake, you couldn't tell me nothing. That cake was the best cake ever in my mind. But that made me start practicing things. I started to see it like, okay, maybe this is something. And I want to say, because I started working and doing the desserts at the same time. So I'm just doing desserts as a side hustle and working my job. Eventually, my daughter was born, and I had to balance work, taking care of my daughter in the household, and everything that's going on in the house, as well as the side business. And eventually, things got too much. I was working all the way up till last year, working a job, and it got too much, and the pandemic and everything, and I was just like, you know what, I need to be home. I need to take care of my family. I need to put my all into this. So I started putting my all into it. I started baking cakes more. I started doing more dessert menus, daily menus, and all of that stuff. And once I built that up, now it's like, oh, wow, now I have so many cake orders that I don't have time to make a dessert menu. And now I'm able to stay home. I'm able to stay home with my son and my daughter. I'm able to take care of the house while my wife goes out and works. I'm able to make enough income that everything is straight. Yeah. And that comes from, because there's plenty of other cake makers in Lansing, Michigan. Like, you have stores that make cakes, you got other people that's doing cakes, but the fact that people come to me and want me to do their cakes, like, that's beyond special to me. Like, people that, like, literally, they really don't understand how appreciative I am. I say it, but they really would never know how appreciative I am, because if it wasn't for that, there's no telling what I would have been doing. I might have went back to selling drugs and been back in the penitentiary or anything. I might have went back and robbed somebody and went back to the penitentiary. I could have been doing anything. But the fact that the people around me supported me, even the people that didn't know me supported me, that made all the world in the difference. That allowed me not to be able to do the things that had me go back to prison and be taken away from my family.
I just want to say something to people who listen to me a lot. That right there is what I'm talking about, why entrepreneurs make our community stronger. They solve problems in our communities, and why, doing this on your own was a hell of a lot better than working for this big factory that at the end of the day didn't really care about you. They won't need you back.
Right.
I love that you're building your own future.
Thank you. And it's crazy because so much has happened that I got the timeline mixed up.
Yeah.
I'm glad I came back and corrected it, because it wouldn't even make sense. You said it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, hold on, no, that ain't happening like that. Hold
on. Yeah. So it sounds like it's doing really, really well.
Yes.
And
I'm definitely blessed.
I got a million things to ask you about that, but
okay.
We're going to run out of time in a minute. Again, is it the same exact not website, but Facebook and
Instagram? Yep, everything's exactly the same. But I do have a Sweet Temptations Facebook page though.
Oh, okay.
Yep, I do have that. Just Sweet Temptation.
All one word?
2 words.
Okay.
Yep, and I do receive messages on there and respond to messages on there as well.
All right, we'll find that too.
Okay.
I'm ordering a cake from you. I don't know what for yet.
Okay.
I'll definitely.
I got you covered.
I definitely will have an event that I want a cake for.
Oh, one more thing before I forget. I ended up having me and my wife was kicking around ideas, and we ended up merging the 2 businesses, the dessert business and the Bully business, and we're now making organic dog treats and organic dog cakes for people, pets, and everything.
All right, this just pivoted a little bit. I got a guy that has this patent on this thing, and he's looking for a guy that would care about dog treats to like implement this thing with them, and because he can't do it, but you're already doing part of it. We got to make a connection there too.
Absolutely, connection is everything.
I got to write all these notes down, man. But he's gonna love that. He's been trying to do something for like a year and a half with this thing. So
nice.
All right. What's your mission? Like, how would you sum that up?
My mission is to affect change in as many people as possible as I can that actually want it. That is one of my missions. Another point of my mission is to just be happy and have a happy family, a happy life, whatever that is. Because it's always constantly changing as I constantly change and evolve of what happiness is to me. I may be the happiest I've ever been one month, and then the next month I'm like, I want to attain this, and I want to go here, and when I get there, then this is the happiest I've ever been. So, happiness is always evolving and changing, because I'm always evolving and changing. And my mission is I just want to make some type of impact on life, whether it's my life, my family's life, other people's life, because I've done so much wrong. That's one of the ways of me righting my wrongs, is to complete that mission. Mm-hmm.
I like it. Let me put, first of all, Knox loves his doggy cakes. And then, I was thinking this too. Your mom is saying this, but destined for greatness and an amazing father and husband, or not your mom, your wife, sorry. Yep. And we are blessed to have him in our lives. So I think they are lucky too.
Thank you.
What's something you do every damn day to push that mission forward?
Look at my children. Look at my children, talk to my children. Look at everything that I've had so far and that I've attained so far and not being satisfied with it. We just bought our first home last August. Got our first home, kids, 3 cars. That pushes me. Yeah. I look at it and be like, okay, this is nice, but I want this. I want to have this. So that pushes me every day. If I don't see, I have a 21-year-old son, like my son Sidney, yeah. Like I said, he's 21 years old now. He's a grown man. If I don't see him that long or he don't see me, he video calling me or I'm video calling him.
Oh, great.
And I got a grandson now. So, all of these things motivate me. The people in my life motivate me, and wanting to make sure that they have the things that life has to offer. Because I don't know what life has to offer yet. I've literally felt like I've only been living life for 7 years.
I have guys around here, they say that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm 12 years old or whatever, however long they've been out.
Absolutely. And that can be stressful as well because yes, I've only been home 7 years, but I'm 40 years old. Mm-hmm. So I often sit back and be like, if I didn't go to prison, where would I be? What could I accomplish? But then I sit back and I'm like, you know what? I needed the penitentiary in order for me to be who I am right now, in order to have the mindset that I have. It's hard to say, a hard pill to swallow at times, but it's the truth.
Did you need those 7 days too? Do you look at it that way now?
Oh, yeah.
Or what's that?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I needed those 7 days. Without those 7 days, I probably still would have been doing what I was doing. Because a lot of people don't stop doing what they're doing until they're caught in the act. You know what I'm saying? No matter what it is. If you're doing something negative, you probably won't stop, especially if you're successful at it and achieving your goal. So that stoppage right there let me know, like, you're tripping. Whether it was God getting in the way and stopping me or whatever it was that made my PO be like, you know what? I'm not gonna catch him doing this, but you're doing something. You need to sit down. And God knowing, like, I need to hear this, and this is gonna make him get his mind right. I needed it.
Were you pissed off when he did that, like without evidence? But
nah, I wasn't pissed off. I wasn't pissed off at all. I was sitting there. I was actually relieved. To tell you the truth. Yeah, I was actually relieved. Because he knew, but he didn't. He told me, I'm locking you up because you have pictures on your Facebook with ex-felons, which is against, your parole. So I'm giving you a parole violation. So it was something that small that I'm in a picture with somebody else that's a felon that got me the 7 days. But I got the 7 days because of the things that I was doing.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I'd have been like, lucky guess, man. So we daisy chaining the shows together. Mm-hmm. And yesterday on the show, I had Ron DeLeon. You know who that is?
I do not know who that is.
He puts these signs all over the city for fighting or promoting boxing. But okay. His question to you is, and I think you already answered it, but let's talk a little bit more of it. Mm-hmm. How do you get people to be in that right mindset? Because I don't want to say something like attitude or any of those words that, mm-hmm. Kind of people use to exclude people. But
Right.
at the end of the day, you got to be in a mindset to want to get somewhere or do something or make some change.
Hmm.
What's one way that you do that?
To get in the mindset to make a
Well,
change.
like let's say that I'm not in the right mindset. I'm angry all the time, or
Right.
being destructive to my family, or
Hmm.
sabotaging my business.
Okay.
How would you help me get in this right mindset?
The first thing I would have to do is I would have to talk to you and figure out what needs to be broken, because change doesn't happen without force. So that means that something needs to be broken. I don't care if it's a light bulb, the lightest touch can break it, or if the light goes out, you have to change it. So I will first have to figure out what has to be broken inside of you. Once I identify that, I have to figure out what's the best way to put the mirror in front of you so that you now see yourself and identify yourself, and you look at yourself and be like, you know what, that's either an ugly person, that's a person that's doing wrong, I don't like who that person is. So once you begin to not like yourself and understand that what you're doing is not correct, and also if I sit up here and tell you the correct way, because one thing that nobody can ever deny is the truth. You can lie all day long to the person that's telling you the truth. I don't believe you. You're lying and everything. But deep down inside, you know it's the truth. It's already there. So as long as I'm able to do that, I'm able to plant the seed of truth. It'll grow.
Yeah,
It'll grow. Yeah, but first you got to identify what's broken inside of someone so you know how to attack it.
yeah. I could use you around here, man. I get in these situations that need this de-escalation and this.
Mhm.
I never want to fight with anybody. I try to say the only place we ever swing is up. So
Yeah.
unless it's the government, an institution, or a large corporation, if we're
Mhm.
swinging at it, we're swinging at each other.
Yeah.
And it's really hard sometimes when someone's in your face and you got to
Mhm.
de-escalate. You can't get
Right.
in fights, because if you get in a fight, then the engagement's going to take
Yeah.
forever and a
Yep.
lot of work.
Because see, I have 100 hours of mediation training
Oh,
that I
yeah.
that I that I got in prison as well through Chance for Life, and we would sit there and people would write secret cult kites and letters and drop it in a box and say they have a problem with such and such and such and such, and they will come to us for us to mediate them. These are people that have killed such and such amount of people or sold such and such amount of drugs or whatever, and they're coming to me to help them mediate their problems so it doesn't escalate into something that they can't get out of. So I had a lot of practice and a lot of dealing with individuals that didn't want to de-escalate.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's amazing skill.
Hmm.
Tomorrow on the show, I've got a good friend of mine, Tamakaya Foster. I don't know if you know her, but she's
It sounds familiar.
she's an activist. So she organizes a lot of events. They're
Hmm.
not so much protests as speaking things where people come and talk, and
Hmm.
a lot of rallies, I guess you would say. But she's
Okay.
also a healthcare worker, and I think she's been like she got national press during COVID and all these things.
Hmm.
So and she's outside emceeing the Fledge's Freedom Fest right now.
Oh, I think I seen her when I walked up.
Yeah. Which
I think
question?
so.
What question would you like me to ask her? And we don't want to ask her something she would have already talked about, so it should be random.
Hmm. Let me see. I want to know. Hmm. I would like to know what is the biggest issue that she has encountered while being an activist, and how did she solve it?
I like it. I'm going to turn that question on you too.
Hmm.
What's the biggest issue you have, either across any of the three, getting out, anything that you want to talk about? What's the
Hmm.
biggest issue you had, and how'd you solve it?
The biggest issue that I've had is belief in self. That has been the biggest issue that I have had starting up. Coming from where I came from and how I grew up, I didn't have direction really. Like of course, I had a foundation, I had a solid foundation, but I was always pulled this way from left to right. I come from a split family. My mom and my dad divorced when I was real young. You know, I'm not sitting anything on my dad's name that nobody doesn't know. You know, my dad was a known local drug dealer, and my mother was she worked her whole life, and she was a pillar in the community. She's a pillar in the church. She goes to church. You know, that's my mom. She had the whole wholesome family foundation over here, and then there's the street foundation over here. So I'm literally split down the middle. You know, so I didn't really have any direction. So I didn't know who I wanted to be. So while I was incarcerated, if you don't know who you want to believe, how can you believe who you want to be? How can you believe in yourself?
Right.
When you don't even know who you are yourself. So the struggle of that I've encountered of starting the businesses is actually believing in myself that I can make it successful and make it work. And then stick with it long enough to actually see that. Because there's been plenty of times where I wanted to get rid of every single dog that I've ever had. There's been plenty of times I wanted to just not wanted to. I have before taken every single dessert baking tool I've ever had and packaged up in a garbage bag and went to Wainwright School and threw it all into the Granger. Like, I'm done. I'm through with it. I'm done with it. It's over. I quit.
Did you go back and get it or have to buy stuff again?
Bought it all over again. I kicked myself for it, you know, but that all goes back to that belief system, you know, and you can't let anybody take anything away from you. I don't care who it is or what it is. If you believe in it and believe wholeheartedly and you see a goal in the mission, you have to keep going with it. And the people that don't believe in you and don't want to go through the struggle while you figure it out, they will eventually fall off. And the ones that do believe in it, they will eventually hang on to you and they'll be there with you for the ride.
That's great advice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I have 4 words: happiness, sadness, joy, and hope.
Mm-hmm.
What word or combination of words do you want to talk about? And I should disqualify happiness because you already articulated it beautifully.
Okay.
Earlier.
Let's do sad and hope. Let's do that different. Yeah.
I love that you did that because you already kind of did hope with your kids when you look at them to get that motivation. So yeah, sadness and hope.
Yep, sadness and hope.
So let's how do those two relate with each other?
They, as you know, they are pretty much polar opposites of each other. You know, if you're in a deep sadness, it's kind of hard to see hope. You know, it's kind of hard to see your way out. But with me, for instance, when I'm in a either sad place or low place or down place, and I feel like there's no way up, I'll always sit back and I'm like, okay, how can I do this? What is the positive sides of this? Okay, I don't have this, that, and the third, but I do have this. I have a roof over my head. There's food in my refrigerator. My kids are healthy. They have clothes. That gives me hope. You know, that's that light when you sitting up there in a dark hole and you look up and you see that light and everybody like, I can get there. I can get there. I can get there. Some people just stay down there in that hole for the rest of their lives, you know, and just dwell into that sadness. And I use the sadness to motivate me. If I'm feeling sad and I'm feeling down, I need to figure out what's wrong with me, what's going on, and figure out, okay, I got hopes that I can get out of this. I see it. I got to come up with a plan, and I need to execute it. Yeah. But it's that sadness and that struggle that brings that out of me. I'm not scared of struggle. I love struggle, actually.
I'd rather be in the struggle. I'm bored if I'm not in the struggle.
Right. Absolutely.
I want to be struggling against something.
Yep.
What do you say? So, you know, there's people who are severely depressed, right? And they can't just snap out of it. They can't get in that right mindset. But there's people that are just sad that they sort of can do that, right? They can change their mindset and the way they're looking at something. Do you consider yourself generally optimistic?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a glass half full person.
Yeah.
At all times with everything.
Most of the best entrepreneurs have to be very optimistic.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I can feel that in you. Hey, you had a lot of love out in the crowd. You know that, I think. And I think your story is awesome. The way you articulated that and you got it out of order or whatever. That didn't matter. Just the way that you can tell you're really intentional with your words and that you're thinking through. So a great story. I loved listening to that today. And I hope we got a little bit of time before you have to take off just to talk about some of the other things, but we'll put a quick plan together anyway. Okay. And thank you so very much for being on the show and taking your time. I know
thank you for having me.
Independence Weekend and all of that. Mm-hmm. So what would you like to take us out with?
If I could say anything, I just want people, not just people, I'm sorry. I want parents. If you don't do anything else, listen to your children, talk to your children, digest what your children are saying. You have to actually listen to your kids, because there's a lot going on, especially right now with I want to say 14 to 21 age range, 20 up in that age range. It's a lot of things going on in this city right now. So, and all across the world, really. So if I would like to close on a point where just get close to your kids, talk to your kids, figure out what's going on with them. And not only that, but if you look at the thing that you are teaching your kids and your kids are seeing, because kids learn from sight. They hear parents, but they learn from what they see. You can talk all you want, but if you show this to your child, then your child is going to do what they see versus what they hear from you. So as parents, we should always have our actions match our words and our words match our actions in order to grow and build up our children if we want them to be correct in the way that they want, the way that we want them to be.
I ain't touching that. It was perfect. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. I'll see you in a second.